Hi folks, you were Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to just talk about a subject I've covered before, but just revisiting here about student debt. I saw an article that said, it claimed, I've no reason to disbelieve it, claimed that students, even 25 years after they've left college, are still paying off the fucking debt. 25 years. Now, this is considered to be a loan that you have so that if you want to take out a loan to, I don't know, buy a car or buy a house or anything, that they'll count that loan and say, well, this is a loan that you have to pay. You can't bankrupt yourself and discharge it that way. You've got to pay it. And this varies country to country. In some countries, if you're a black lesbian, they'll write the loan off for you and that sort of thing. But this idea of still paying off your student debt 20, 25 years down the track is insane, and to me is an expression of an indication of the dysfunction of that whole system of this is more the government guaranteed loans and more to do with the US, but around 60%, depending on whose numbers you look at, around 60% of students are getting these government loans. Now, on top of that, they're being rather careless with it. So if they decide at the end of the year, hey, guess what, I'd like a vacation. Some of these loans are almost like not an open-ended, but a general overdraft account where you can kind of just keep on borrowing from it, not just for the school fees, but if you want a vacation down in the sun or something like that. So some students, the more careless ones, are adding to it. As the money seems to be free and easy, they're not bothering so much about being careful with the money or not bothering about working. A lot of the ones that do work just put that money into partying and consumption and so on, rather than trying to pay down the loan. That's about 60%. Now, there's a heavy overrepresentation, as you can probably imagine, of poorer people going for those government loans, and of those poorer people, the majority are the less capable students. So you've got this astonishing overrepresentation of low IQ people amongst those loans. It does mean that some of them aren't bright, but the majority are the kids that wouldn't have really made it even into senior high school, let alone college or university, with their sort of academic capabilities or lack of it. Now, give or take, about 40% are taking private loans, or the parents are paying for it, or the parents have been squirreling money away for years since the kid was born, so that they've got, or the parents are paying part of it, the kids are working to pay off another part, or taking a small loan to cover the bits and pieces that aren't covered in that. Kids hopefully want to go to universities that are close by, so they don't have to pay accommodation fees on top of accommodation costs on top of the college. Sometimes some colleges sort of package it all in with accommodation and so on with the tuition fees, and the students may take a loan on that. But the better off kids, of course, or from better off families, they're not taking on loans or having a much smaller loan. So in certainly quite a few people I know, the kids are going to university doing an expensive course. They're burning a couple of $100,000, but the parents are paying for it all. So the kid leaves an Ivy League university with a snappy looking piece of paper and no debt. And that's of course a sweet spot to be in. Now, most of the kids that are studying, things like gender studies and the like, unless they get a government job or a job as a diversity, equity and inclusion officer, some of which pay very well, by the way, unless they do, which a very small proportion to get that, given how many are doing arts courses. And if you look at the kids doing arts courses, there's nearly all of them are doing, the things like gender studies or lesbian dance or something like that. Nearly all of them are borrowing money to do it. Now, I think this is an outrageously cruel imposition on people. So they're getting these low IQ people that would never have made it out of third year high school. They're getting to go right through high school. They're waving them through affirmative action, waving them through into senior high school, affirmative action, waving them through into university to do some bullshit course, get themselves in debt. And these courses aren't as expensive, but even so, the kids are leaving college with 50, 60K in debt and almost zero earning power as a result of that qualification. Now, I've met black people or minorities, but black people in the US that have got 2 degrees, some of them 3. They've been like professional college students, and they've got these degrees, and they've been on some government program where it's provided they pass and they attend the classes that the government, or could be state or federal or whatever it is, pays for their course. And they got 3 degrees and they're still illiterate. I remember interviewing this guy. He wasn't 100% illiterate, but he had 2 degrees, and he could barely write his fucking name. And I thought, what? You got to be kidding me! How could you spend 6 years in university and not be able to write your name? So this is I think this is a serious matter. The least intellectually capable have the largest debt, and and we're talking millions of kids here, not a few here and there. We're talking millions of kids who've got no earning power. Their education has been nothing other than some sort of ideological radicalization. They're almost unemployable in all but a few very select fields, such as DEI officers or placard waving street goons or something like that. So they're NGO activists and so on. So they're unemployable in any real world sense, and yet they've got this debt that even if you look at the average wage that they could make, say, working full time in like a Starbucks or some takeout food chain or something like that. If you look at that, they would still take them 12 to 15 years, assuming they never lost their job, never got sick, and were quite disciplined about 12 to 15 years. So if they have to, unless they're living with their folks, they can't do that. They'd be unable. So if they've got to live out on their own, rent an apartment, that sort of thing. You'd be looking at 20, 25 years before they even had that small loan paid off, which in the overall scheme of things is not a big loan anymore for anything. So I just want to, these black kids that they've said, hey, don't worry about, your academic abilities. We'll just wave you through high school, wave you into college and all that sort of stuff. They're the ones that are suffering the most. They're the ones, they've got this low IQ. They never should have been in senior high school or college. Never should have been. They should have been out maybe getting an apprenticeship or something. They should have been out doing whatever. But instead they've been waved into a situation where they've acquired quite a large debt, certainly relative to their earning capacity at least. They've acquired a large debt without any real world ability to easily or reasonably discharge that debt. So they're fucked. So really, that debt is one day have to be written off. No wonder, no wonder these kids run around screaming on the street with Black Lives Matter and so on, because they look into the future and they see nothing. They could be in their 40s before they've discharged the debt, and they know they're never going to own property. They're never going to live a life unless it's dependent on the government. In government, in America, as they call it, Section 8 housing and so on. So that's a bleak, grim, pointless future. And but you've got to give it to the globalists and the university activists and NGO stirrers. They've managed to convince these black people that white supremacy is the main problem, or climate change is the real issue, rather than the people that said, hey, you go to college, you IQ 80 moron, and acquire lots of debt, and then we'll fuck you for the rest of your life. That's the reality. But it's something that they're not even bright enough to understand what's been done to them, for goodness sakes. You've been a Tacitus today, you're a Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.